Perimenopause and menopause are hormonal changes that happen to every single woman, whether it's through surgery or naturally occurs. If you're a female, it's going to happen to you. I look back at when I first started exercising, and I was 17 back then, and very new to endurance sports. But as time went on, my friends began to become pregnant and they didn't want to give up their sport. So they had worked with doctors to figure out how can they exercise throughout their pregnancy and in some cases even race. A lot of people frowned upon this. There was really not a lot of research, and fortunately they had some good doctors that really helped them open doors for other women. Fast forward several years. What do we see now? We see it's encouraged to be active throughout your pregnancy. We see women out there running with their baby bump, and they're giving birth to healthy babies. So I feel that that generation opened up so many doors for future women to not give up something that they really enjoy doing for themselves that's also healthy. Those same women are now experiencing another phase of life, perimenopause. What is perimenopause? I buried my head in the research because a lot of the athletes that I worked with were experiencing all sorts of weird things happening to their bodies and their moods, their motivation, and muscle fatigue, things that I couldn't quite understand. So I read a lot of books. I talked to my doctor about it. I wanted to educate myself as much as possible so that I could help these women pursue their athletic lifestyles and not walk away from it, as I've seen so many women my age do. There is not a lot of research on perimenopause and the hormonal changes and how we manage it. So there are some leaders that I really enjoy. I'm going to start by recommending Stacy Sims. If you are in your reproductive years, her book Roar, amazing. Well, if you're entering your non-reproductive years, or if you're already there, Next Level has so much information about exercise and nutrition that will guide you through that journey. I keep referring to it as perimenopause and menopause, two totally different things. Perimenopause is that transitional phase that can take up to 10 years. You can even start to experience symptoms in your mid to late 30s and not even know it. These hormonal changes start to trigger responses in your body, and as we start producing fewer eggs and our hormonal swings become more intense, we eventually stop menstruating. When you have not had a period for a year, that is menopause. So perimenopause is an extremely important time for you to start taking charge of your health, having conversations with doctors that understand and recognize what perimenopause is. Kind of cool thing that I learned, well, maybe not too cool. The Salem witch hunt was perimenopausal and menopausal women having hot flashes, anxiety, and not being themselves, so they were burned at the stake. That's pretty terrible. Unfortunately, we still have a long way to go because my education on menopause, I didn't even know what peri was basically you get overweight, you don't feel good, you become unhealthy, you get hot flashes, you have zero sex drive, and you're cranky. I started having more conversations with my doctor last year who recommended this book. It talks about how a lot of the research in the past has been totally debunked, and now she came out with another book, The New Perimenopause, and that's where I'll begin to share my story. I had to have an emergency surgery last September and was blaming all these weird symptoms on my surgery. I was extremely fatigued. I wasn't sleeping well. I had horrible anxiety. I had cold flashes. Yes, cold flashes are a thing. And I started having these feelings of just wanting to disappear from my life. I had dry eyes. My cholesterol suddenly jumped. My LDL was high. It's never been high. I didn't change a single thing in my routine. I eat healthy. I exercise. Then I started putting on weight. Well, I have one of those scales that looks at your skeletal muscle mass, your body fat, all that good stuff. If you don't have one, highly recommend investing in one of those scales. Between December and April, I lost 2 pounds of muscle, but I gained 5 pounds. And I noticed that weight gain in my thighs and my stomach. Now, things just progressively got worse. I got to the point where I could barely lift weights. Exercise was a struggle. Rolling out of bed in the morning was just horrible. I was tired. I just couldn't function. And I started feeling really bad about myself. My workouts were forced. Nothing felt good and I wasn't having fun. But I'm a highly motivated person, so I pushed through the lack of motivation and tried to force myself to just enjoy the workout for what it was. A lot of it was walking and barely pedaling my bike. Something was clearly wrong with me, but I still didn't realize what was happening. I blamed it on my surgery. I was also getting severe acne, and this acne was localized to this area. Again, didn't know why it was happening. I didn't have acne as a teenager. This was new to me. So one of my little monthly splurges is facials. And the woman doing my facial had said, you've had acne kind of on a regular basis now for a few months. Your skin is starting to change and look drier. I think you have to talk to your doctor about hormones, perimenopause. She has shared her story about how she had gone through it in her 30s and how for her, hormone replacement therapy, they're going to be changing the name of that at some point, but they're not quite there yet. It helped her feel better in her body all around. So of course I went to my doctor, scheduled an appointment, and blood work when you're still ovulating and you're still menstruating is inaccurate. It's going to be all over the place. You can take it one day and everything can be really high. The next day it can be really low. So we started with the basic estrogen patch, super low dose to see if it would help me. We did blood work that day as well. Well, what we found was my vitamin D levels since 6 months prior when I had them checked had completely tanked and they've been stable for years. Not only that, but my FSH had completely changed. My testosterone was non-existent. Everything was pointing in the direction of perimenopause. So we had an in-depth discussion about how we need to replace these missing hormones and the risks and the benefits. This is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. We're shamed when we enter this phase of life. We're just kind of expected to suck it up, push through it, and deal with it and not talk about it. The only way this can change is if we talk about it. As a coach, I feel it's really important to have meaningful conversations with my athletes that are going through this. We need support. And we need to talk to each other so that we can learn. Having been a healthcare provider for almost 30 years and having an education in human science really made me want to dig my head into the research so that I can not only help my athletes, but so that I can help myself. My personal journey with the estrogen patch was within 48 hours, I was sleeping better. My mood completely changed and I started to have more energy. I didn't want to leave my life. So far, the acne we're about a month into this, no acne, yay, fingers crossed, hope that stays that way. But what I found is there's 34 symptoms that you can experience during perimenopause that can include anything from dry eyes to cold flashes and an array of other things. As we go through perimenopause, our bodies start to shift where the fat is stored. The problem is it likes to put the fat around our belly and in our thighs. And when that happens, we get visceral fat, which is fat around our organs. Not good. So hormone replacement therapy, if you're a candidate and if you feel comfortable doing it, can help reverse a lot of that and put the fat back where it belongs. It can also help you feel a lot better. It's not the magic bullet. You have to change your macros and you have to change the way you train. Changing your macros means an insane amount of protein. I mean, you're eating at least 30 grams of protein with every meal and snack. And the recommended amount of protein is typically around 0.8. Well, you're going to need at least 1.2 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight. If you pick up these books, the ratios are in there. You can also Google it. You need a lot of protein. You also need healthy carbohydrates and you need healthy fats. You can't go without fats and you cannot starve yourself. 1,000 calories a day is going to cause you to lose more muscle and you're going to put on more fat. Even though it doesn't make sense, that's what happens when our hormones change. So nutrition is a big piece of the puzzle. The other thing is lifting. You have to lift heavy. And lifting heavy doesn't necessarily mean you're bench pressing 200 pounds. It's whatever's challenging for your body. As we go through these hormonal changes, we start to lose muscle at a very alarming rate. And muscle is what keeps our bones strong. It's what keeps our postures strong. It's what helps us move and do the sports that we want to keep doing. So in addition to good nutrition, you should be strength training a minimum of 3 days a week. And here's the other cool part. You don't need as many miles to achieve your fitness goals, especially if you have endurance goals. But what you do need are key speed workouts. That can be a 20-minute HIIT session. That can be speed intervals, running or on a bike, whatever doesn't cause injury. But you need to do short bursts of speed and intensity. But you also need those boring zone 2 runs, bike rides, swims, and you have to strategically place your hard efforts in between your easy efforts. So I actually like to combine my speed work day with my leg day. It sounds terrible, but it's actually a really good thing because you are triggering a lot of good stuff. Now, one other piece of the puzzle that they're starting to find is supplementation. I know, supplements, annoying. Why can't we get everything from food? Well, when we reach this phase in life, sometimes it becomes really hard. Eat healthy. My vitamin D tanked. So I take vitamin D. Very important to make sure. Ask your doctor which one they want you to take. There's vitamin D2 and D3. I'm taking 3. CoQ10. Your cholesterol can skyrocket during this period of your life. CoQ10 can help change that. Collagen has been like the new rage. It's great for a lot of things, but it's also amazing for menopausal and premenopausal women, or perimenopausal women. And lastly, creatine. This is also an up and coming thing. They used to think it was just for bodybuilders. It does actually help with hormone regulation too. So think about getting some creatine. If you're going to take supplements, you want to make sure that they have been tested and they're safe. Supplements aren't necessarily regulated. So find a company that you like, that has a good reputation. And if you're competing, safe for sport is another important piece of the puzzle. I also just like to take biotin. I find it makes a difference for me. It's a pretty inexpensive supplement, but something to possibly consider. So if you are going through these hormonal changes, or even just preemptively starting to think about a plan for yourself to remain active and be healthy. Have conversations with your doctor that are meaningful. Make sure you find a doctor that actually believes that perimenopause and menopause are both things that can be managed safely with exercise, diet modifications, and if it's right for you, hormone replacement therapy. I highly recommend reading the 2 books that I suggested, the ones by Mary Claire Haver and Stacy Sims. They're both doctors. They have incredible research and they're on the cutting edge of it. And I am extremely proud to once again be a part of an experimental generation where we don't have to suffer like our moms did. We don't have to feel like we're living in somebody else's body or mind. We can be strong. We can be active. We can maintain our social life on and off the trail. And most of all, we don't have to feel like our life is over. So do your research, find people that believe you, find a good support group, stay fit, stay healthy, and age like the finest wine in the world.